about in love, but wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity, and make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit. And you are now rocking with Celeste, the therapist. Let's go.
Hi, beautiful people. So if you have never been in here before, thank you so much for being here. My name is Celeste. I'm a therapist from Boston. I come on, I talk to people that are doing things to empower the lives of others by sharing their story. And since the pandemic started, I decided, let me bring my podcast to video platform. So if you're not familiar with my podcast, this is your first time in here. This is my podcast. So initially I was just doing it on audio. And then I said, let me bring it to video. And then I have brave people that come on video with me, which is so exciting. So one of the things I want to show you before we get started is this wellness assessment wheel. So one of the things that happens with us is that we get stuck in different areas of our lives. And so we don't really know how to start the process. So I created this 10-minute video that kind of break down all of these different areas to help you get a hold of understanding what's going on in your life instead of just feeling stuck all the time. There's something powerful when you create a plan to start the process of working on the issues that you find yourself struggling with. So I'm going to bring on my special guest and I'm going to have them introduce themselves to you guys. So this is my second time having two people on at the same time. We're going to see how this goes. Gorgette, can you start and introduce yourself to the audience?
Hey, I'm Gorgette Green Hodnett. I am an educator, a native New Yorker, but have been living in Maryland for more than 20 plus years. My area of expertise is middle school mathematics, and I also work as a instructional resource teacher. So good to be here.
Well, you could have left out the whole New York thing and the whole Maryland thing, because I don't rock with the Giants or the Ravens, but it's okay. We're gonna let you pass. Okay. The two most hated teams. You're gonna just throw that state out there, but it's cool. We're gonna move on.
All right, Celeste.
Chandra, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
I'm Chandra Joseph-Lacet, and I am a full-time new teacher developer with the Boston Public Schools. And yes, originally from New York, but I've been in Boston since 1995. You knew I had to say that, Celeste. You know I had to say that.
That's right.
Well, we see why you guys get along so well.
Listen, educators rock. We're loving it. And so, yeah, I've been in BPS since 1999. Actually, I'm going into my 22nd year. So I'm excited to be here tonight.
And I've been with Charles County Public Schools since 1998.
Okay, so between you two, you have a lot of experience in the education system. So you've seen the different ways that it's changed or maybe stayed the same. Tell me a little bit about, for you, Chandra, what happened during the pandemic with what you're doing and how you noticed the changes take place.
Sure, yeah. So for my full-time work, I actually support first-year teachers across the district. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, people talk about this shift. Gorgette likes to call it a catapult, because that's exactly what it was. Literally, we were in classrooms one day, and then the next 2 days, boom, we were all remote learning. It was an instant kind of turnover. So the first-year experience is rough no matter what, but imagine that this is your first-year experience. Yeah. So, as I was supporting teachers and helping them get online and wrangling with Google Classroom and all that sort of thing, what I noticed was so many of them were struggling with their own personal issues, right? Folks were focused on kids and they were focused on families, which is appropriate, and that's the way it should be. But the teachers were left out of that equation, and people weren't checking in on their well-being, and they were so unbelievably overwhelmed. There was so much anxiety. So I found a lot of my coaching sessions literally turned into, so how you doing? Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Everything okay? And you begin to hear the stories. My mom is sick. I'm really concerned about her. My sister is sick. I'm tired. I'm working ridiculous amounts of hours. I'm not sure I know what I'm doing. I haven't heard from these students. I'm really concerned about them. I haven't heard from these families. I'm really worried. This one doesn't have technology. I know that this one is, home insecure. What can I do from my home? What am I supposed to do? Right? And so all of that told me I can sit here and help them plan 25 million lessons. But if I didn't attend to all the emotional stuff that was going on, it meant nothing. And they were taking on the emotional stuff from their families, their kids, all at the same time, right?
Okay.
And so I did a lot of work with just talking to people. Like, let's just talk and let's just figure out what we need to do first and foremost. Let's attend to like your initial needs. So then you can attend to the needs of your kids and your family. And so it was so interesting how it just kind of evolved into these, conversations. And then Gorgette and I started talking. And Gorgette is all the way in Maryland. But we started having really similar conversations about, the things that we were encountering with teachers. And we were like, we really need to create a space for teachers to be able to talk, to discuss, to deal with what they're dealing with, and to support and help one another so that we can really like move this whole work piece forward for kids and families. Start with the teachers.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I can't imagine having to wear all of those hats. Even as a therapist, I see people, I get off. And I think when I thought about the teachers, it felt like their work doubled with everything they had to do. Gorgette, I'm curious about you. Like, the pandemic happens. Like, what does your life look like during this time for, as for what you do?
Yeah, so I work at one middle school, and so my work centers around supporting math teachers, both in the classroom and with their delivery of instruction. So it was natural for Chandra and I to have the conversation because she's dealing with the new teachers primarily, and I'm dealing with a variety, not just new teachers, experienced teachers, and really even teachers that attend the school that I work at. So although I can honestly say the teachers came together, and they, as teachers do, they come, they step up to the plate, and they do what has to be done. But it was the untold stories, the conversations that weren't being had that led Chandra and I to create this space where we could do just what we said, real talk, real time. So we invited people to come on Thursday evenings and talk. We had planned sessions in terms of ways in which we wanted to kind of focus on their well-being, to focus on the ways in which they needed to realign and readjust so that they could be the best that they could be, where in turn that would help them be the best they could be to help their students.
Well, one of the things you said these conversations weren't being had. Why do you think those conversations were not being had? If it sounds like across, like, you're in one state and you're in another state and there's these similar things taking place, where's the disconnect?
So we not only were having the conversations, the two of us, people were coming to us from as far as Texas, New Hampshire, Virginia, just all over the place. And it is typical that we focus so much on the children, on the students and their well-being, the whole child, that most often we're not having the conversations about, with, and for teachers. And so that's a passion for both Chandra and I. I'm big into teacher empowerment and helping them to understand that their voice is a part of their power and that they have to make space to empower themselves to do the very best they can for themselves, whether that be coursework, whether that be realigning their schedule so that they could be the best moms or brothers or children that they can be for their families. Chandra really focuses a lot on self-care. And I think that between the two of us, it made our sessions real, and it made teachers, I believe, feel really connected to one another and really special in the fact that they were those heroes that people, they kind of brushed us aside. They said, oh, being a teacher's hard.
Who brushed you aside, Gorgette? It wasn't me.
Listen, I am not taking anything away from our healthcare workers, because I know for certain a lot of our parents learn just how challenging our work is.
Yes.
But imagine having to do that work while still managing your home, your finances, your commitments, and in some cases, your health. So that's really where our platform was birthed. And we're really committed. We are empowered to do this because people keep coming back, and we're so happy about that.
So even, it sounds like even before the pandemic took place, some of these conversations weren't had either. It wasn't, but the pandemic kind of made it more compound, because now like there's not just stuff in the classroom, but there's their own personal world that's being affected.
Exactly. I think what happens is that teachers talk to teachers. There are these kind of water cooler conversations that happen all the time, right? But there aren't places that are created for teachers to be able to safely be vulnerable and really tell how they feel, and really be able to walk into a space and say, Lord, child, today, this is crazy. This was just too much, right? Without being judged, right?
That's right.
In a place and say, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel completely incompetent, right? Those spaces don't exist. They don't allow you to do that, because as a teacher, you're supposed to know everything, right?
Go ahead, Chandra.
Okay.
I was just going to say that our jobs are so multifaceted. There's more than just the instruction. There's the management of the paperwork. There's the perfecting of practice. There's also the parent phone calls and emails. I mean, there's all these dimensions of our work. And everybody has high expectations. And no one wants to kind of give their, not give their best. But all of that in the midst of a pandemic is a lot for anyone to manage.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. And I want to talk about like the details of what this program looks like. But when it comes to fall, I know it sounds like people aren't really sure what's going to be happening. I'm curious about, where do you guys see learning taking place, and what does that look like for teachers, and what would that probably look like for parents?
Yeah. So I think the reality is nobody knows. I would like to sit here and say, this is exactly what's going on. Nobody knows. There are conversations that are happening, obviously, at the teacher level. They're happening at the district level in spots. But I think everyone from the ground up is really trying to figure out what is the best way to handle this unbelievable situation that we're in now. There are so many variables to think about. I think the reality is that we're probably going to have some hybrid version, right, of an online mix with something else. And I will say that districts are going to be different. Like what's happening down in Maryland might be very different from what's going to happen in Boston, which might be different from what's going to happen in Brockton, right? Because districts are going to be able to decide. And so one of the things that Gorgette and I have been talking about, and we are actually going to keep this forum open and want teachers to have an opportunity to talk about, what are the possibilities, right? Like we talk about the challenges all the time. The reality is that we have to move forward. What are the possibilities and what are the opportunities? And how do we provide teachers with a voice to be able to share with one another, and then be able to go back to their schools and their districts and say, so here's some ideas that we've really been thinking about. Because empowering teachers is a really big deal. We have to do this work, right? Like we're the ones who have to do this work. And we're not always asked. So we're providing a space where teachers are being able to not only to ask the questions, to be vulnerable, to come up with suggestions and solutions, and then to support one another and be able to bring those solutions back to the people who have the power to kind of change and shift and move. We have to be part of the equation.
No, I think that's really good. Gorgette, I'm curious, does it feel like a lot of pressure, like a lot of weight, trying to manage this portion of what's happening and not knowing what's happening, but trying to guide people through it while you're going through it at the same time? Like, how does that feel for you? Taking on this role?
Chandra says that I bullied her into this. Not so. But what I will say is this collaboration between Chandra and I think is an example of, first of all, what teachers should be doing. You're not alone. You shouldn't be trying to do this work alone. Secondly, I believe that we called it real talk, real time. And as the conversation shifts, we also are shifting. So your question was, how does it feel? It feels authentic, it feels necessary, and it feels purposeful. There's times that as a teacher, you feel like, I know this is what I'm supposed to do. And you do wonder, though, am I really doing everything I should do? And I do feel like Chandra and I have found our little place in the world, that we're making an impact. When we could say we've started on March 19, and every week we have had groups of teachers from around the country that come, that share and that return, because we do our sessions in first 3-week cycles and then subsequent cycles after that. So we know for a fact that people want this, and we're just grateful to continue to remain humble and focused on what is the necessary real talk at the time. Because we've moved from teaching, supporting teaching teachers through online learning. And of course, with George Floyd's murder, we've moved on to how are we dealing with equity? How do I go back to my school system and say, I'm happy or I'm not happy? There are missing needs. There are not. There are institutional challenges that we're facing. So as a collective over the last 3 weeks, that has been the conversation. And our intention is to move by August to start a conversation about how do we get ready for this unknown? Because truth be told, a lot of teachers aren't saying it out loud, but there's anxiety, there's concern, and there's, just the idea of not knowing what the fall looks like. Chandra and I tease about putting the poster in the same spot in the room every year. You don't even know if you're going to be in your room. So I hope I answered you. I took too long, but
no, you didn't. No, that
okay,
was
good.
good.
Okay, good.
I like what you said, and the fact that like the last 3 weeks the conversation shifted because of what was happening in society. So It talks like it's real time, just like just like it says. Now, I want to pull up this banner with you two because I want you to talk to people who aren't familiar. So it says guiding teachers through transition and teaching and learning. And it's both of you guys. I'm curious about what that looks like in real time for somebody that's jumping on for the 3-week cycle.
Yeah. So we invite people, anybody, everybody from wherever you are, educators. And I might add that we've had social workers, guidance counselors, school nurses, so all sorts of folks from all over the country join us, which is fabulous. We've had parents join us. It's been really exciting. And we advertise on Facebook. You get an invitation, you come on, and we try and keep the folks to about 15 at max, because what we also want to do is create community, right? We want to create an environment where people are comfortable to talk and to challenge one another, to ask their questions, and so we keep it small, and then we invite that same group to come back for 3 subsequent weeks. And we talk about whatever the issues are that are going on. Initially, like we said, it was remote learning, and then it moved to what does it mean to be a teacher and to be a social justice teacher, to be a socially conscious teacher. What does it mean to be a socially conscious teacher in a diverse environment? What does it mean to be a socially conscious teacher in a predominantly white environment? So it has been really, really interesting. And then what are our responsibilities, right, as teachers and holders of this work? And then we move on to our VIP, and we shift to, given all this work that we have to do, how do you do that and still take care of yourself, right? How do you do this integration, this crazy amount, really important work with kids and families and self, and still sustain yourself, right? So you're able to do the important work that you need to do. How do you begin to put your own mask on first? So that's what the cycle actually looks like, kind of over the course of 5 weeks. And we've done 3 iterations of that. And it's been powerful every single time. And it's so exciting to have new and different voices engage with us. So I'm so happy that we put it out there, and say, hey, anybody join us? And the perspectives that we get, when I tell you this, perspectives that are coming from New Hampshire and Vermont, and the perspectives that are coming from Maryland and North Carolina and New York and Boston, all coming together. And we're from rural and we're from, urban areas. But teaching is teaching. And teachers get other teachers no matter what. And that's what makes this forum so powerful.
Gorgette, anything that you want to add about what you've seen since on your end since you guys decided to branch out and do this amazing thing that you're doing? I think there's something powerful when people who are dealing with the same things are able to come together, because there's this unspoken bond, there's this unspoken language that you can just look at each other and you get it. So it sounds like that's what's happening in these groups.
Definitely. And I believe Chandra and I are the facilitators of the conversation. We're not seeing ourselves as the content specialists that are bringing a workshop. We see ourselves as the facilitator of necessary dialogue among colleagues. There's times we jump in with the colleagues, we're like, yeah, girl, I know exactly what you're talking about. And then there's times that I'm like, oh my God, I never thought of that. I remember the time one of our first, she's in her third or fourth year of teaching, and she gave this example of, I put my to-do list on a Post-it note, and that's all I do for the day. Everybody was like, what? I mean, we're teachers, so we get that. We were like, oh, Post-it. So everyone's explaining, I use like 8.5 by 11. And so just the fact that we have not only this shared experience as professionals, but in this pandemic, we have a shared experience. We have all been catapulted into this experience with little to no preparation in terms of our ability to teach online, in our ability to facilitate instruction online. So it's been awesome. It's not to say everyone has it, but that has been the guide by which we have been able to join together and support one another during this time. And really, our intention is to continue to do that.
Oh, okay. So that this is something that you're looking at as an ongoing thing that you want to do.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Now, I want you to, for people that are listening to this, I want you to give some kind of advice for the teachers that are out here. I know I have a lot of teachers that are on now, and then also for parents, like where you can, because it sounds like you guys are really passionate about mental health and mental wellness, something that I feel like a lot of times work leaves out. And you're providing teachers a space, but do you have any like encouraging words for teachers?
Always. I'm gonna let you, G, take parents only because you did that really great workshop. And parents have been doing a heck of a job out there. And I know they did not sign on for this. I know they didn't. But as far as teachers are concerned, teachers are near and dear to my heart, obviously, and the encouraging word is this. We always do what we got to do. We did it this time. We shift, we move. That's what we do, right? This has been an incredible shift, but teachers do those shifts every single day. We're in the classroom. You see something that needs to be done. You assess the student, you move, you pivot. There are like 5,000 different decisions that a teacher's making every hour. There's no question about that. No question about that. And when we don't know how to do something, we figure it out because we know that that's our responsibility to figure out. So that's the exact same thing that we did when we pivoted to remote learning. And that's exactly what we're going to do moving forward, right? And we're not going to do it alone because we don't have to. Gorgette and I talk about this whole social distancing, but does not mean isolation. No. Because you are not by yourself. There is a community of folks around you. We need to lean on each other. We need to support one another. We need to share ideas, right? And that's part of what this forum is. But it's also, you have your teacher tribe. Everybody has to have their teacher tribe, right? And so you tap into that teacher tribe to help you move the work forward. We are all figuring this out together. That's also one of the great things that we talked about. We had folks who were like, first and second year teachers. Then we had someone who was retiring after 44 years.
Wow.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal, right? But we're all in this together. We are all at ground zero together. None of us has done this before, right? So it's a kind of crazy time, but it's also an exciting time because we also have the opportunity to do some things different, right? Everything wasn't working before. So now we've got this grand pause. Let's figure some things out and let's pivot and shift and do some things differently for ourselves as teachers and for our kids and for families. That's really going to make a difference in the outcomes for kids. So this is a huge opportunity. So when we talk about positivity for teachers and hope, this is a huge opportunity to do the teaching that most of us have always wanted to do.
Yeah, no, that's good. Before I move on to Gorgette, I wanted to I wanted to piggyback off of something you said, if you can kind of explain, because you said as teachers, we shift all the time, we keep going, but how important it is to shift consciously and be a part of the process mentally so that you're not like, oh my God, how did I get here? And like, how important is that process?
Yeah, I think you have to stay grounded. Right? I think if you begin to think about the 50 million things that are going on around you that you have no control over, you're going to make yourself completely overwhelmed, bananas, and all those things that teachers tend to do. Because a lot of us also tend to, okay, I'll speak for myself, tend to be control freaks, right? Like, we want to be able to control it all, right? Do it all. We know exactly how things are happening and moving all the time. But, this is an opportunity to be the forever learner that you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let's learn right along with the kids. Stay where you are. Don't try and go too far ahead, because we don't know what ahead looks like.
Yeah.
Right? So just stay grounded, stay close, keep with the kids. We always talk about this, right? Stay with the kids, meet them where they're at. That's what I'm talking about right now, really.
And I want to springboard to that. That's a good transition, Chandra, because in terms of parents, I think that I hope parents got to know their students a little bit more as a learner during this process. Because all teachers come to, whether it be parent-teacher conferences and things like that, and they seem to want to fight or resist at times what observations the teachers are making regarding their child. And hopefully during this time, people have a better sense of the student that they have as their child, and then the kind of learner that they are. So given that you know who that is, over the summer, make ways in which that you can move that forward. Whether that, if your child is more of a hands-on learner, then don't try to make them something different. Try to build from those experiences that you know that your child enjoys. Online learning is challenging, especially if you have little ones, and you're trying, their attention span is different. I would just say to parents, I have so much in my head like that I could share with parents, but please remember, your child is not you. Don't assume your child is the same learner you are, the same type of learner you are, or will meet the same success that you will meet. When you do that, you create frustrations for your child that may or may not move them towards their ultimate success. And that's what we want. I would also say, my motto, parents are our partners. Yes. We should not be fighting. And I'm talking parents and guardians. The older sister that comes in to translate for the mom at the conference, the grandmom that is raising the children, the parent that is there leaving work early or going to work late, whomever you are in the children's lives, we are partners with you. We are not to be disrespected. We are not to be assaulted with poor language or just insults. We love your children as much as you do. And if you've had bad experiences, this is my last one, Celeste, I promise.
No, you're good, Georgette.
Sometimes our parents have had bad experience themselves as students. And they bring that stuff with them when they come to the school to try to advocate for their child. They don't even realize that they're bringing that baggage from their past to the schoolhouse. And we have got to ask parents to look differently. Let next school year be different. If you had it out for the teacher, or you felt the teacher had it out for your child, have a new outlook on what this year is going to bring. If you felt like your child didn't do their very best, have a new outlook on the next school year. So my advice to parents are just speak life into your child, volunteer at your children's school, and be positive. We take gifts. Thank you.
I can't. Can I just ask the last speaking of opportunities? I will say that this online learning has created partnerships with teachers and families in some cases that didn't exist, right? Because the reality is that kids are home with families. So we have to depend on families to help us. So again, I'm looking at the opportunity. There's an opportunity to continue to build those bonds in ways that are just so genuine, authentic, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many teachers are saying, I've got a glimpse into my student's life that I didn't have before. Right? It changes and helps your perspective. And families the exact same way. I've got a whole glimpse about what you're dealing with every single day. Thank you. Right? So there's opportunities to build bridges there moving forward. Let's not go back to whatever that was. Let's keep moving forward. Let's just hold hands and move forward in the best interest of kids. Because that's what we all want. That's what we all want.
I love it. And what I'm hearing is that even though we're in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of a lot of trials and tribulations, trying to look at the positive and look at the fact that we can create new opportunities, create new alliances. We can learn, our children better and not staying focused on the hardships. We can acknowledge them, but we can't just focus on them because then we'll bring that baggage into the new year.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Exactly.
You bring that baggage into your home.
Yes.
If you are not careful, you will find yourself going through the motions because you know that's what you have to do because you have to get that check. Where the reality is, I believe we are not superheroes. We are meant to empower the future. And we can only do that if we have power. If we feel broken, if we feel disrespected, if we feel weary, we will be unable to do this. And so let's start with having a partner. Chandra and I are being partners with each other to do this work, but that doesn't mean that those people who have joined us online, we know every week in the chat, people are like, someone says, I read a book. People are in the chat sharing the book, sharing the website, sharing the virtual tour. That's what we must do. We must.
Exactly. And at the same time, can we all give each other some grace? So I say,
every
teachers,
week,
give yourselves grace. Lord, let's give our kids some grace because this has not been easy for any of the children, right? And let's give parents some grace. The reality is we are all doing the very best that we can do with what we have right now. We're all trying to figure it out. So allow yourself some grace and allow other folks some grace too.
I love it. I feel like we can do more together than we can apart. But
absolutely,
in order for us to get together, I think on an individual level, we have to take care of ourselves, understand what we need, and tap into that support. And what I'm hearing from you both today is that you guys are providing that with this forum that you're offering weekly, which is amazing.
Absolutely. So excited. And let's also say that is a support for us too. We're going through it at the exact same time and trying to figure it out. And that's part of the beauty of it, right? Like we're educators right in there with you, trying to figure this thing out together. And we will be there every single week. We talk about the fact that we created this space and now we're holding it sacred, for anybody and everybody who wants to join in on this conversation. So
this is good. I appreciate you guys. What if somebody wanted to join the forum? How could they join the forum?
Well, we have a Facebook group. It's called Real Talk, Real Time Educators Forum. It's on Facebook. Feel free to go ahead and click to join our group. We'd love to have you. We're excited about creating a rich environment where we could share, where we could acknowledge people, where we could celebrate discoveries, and just be our authentic selves. We are really at the top of our game, and at the same time struggling. Like we're all of that. I might be really good because mathematics is my area. I might be really good about math, but I might be struggling with how to get this concept translated through online, right? So we have to collaborate with each other, and hopefully the forum will do that and help others to do the same.
Yes, real talk, real time. I love the fact that you say, I'm struggling too. We on the struggle bus together. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it done.
That's right. We're gonna get it done together.
We acknowledge though that it's not always peaches and creams, and I think sometimes that's another thing. It's not just first year teachers that do that. Older teachers, retiring teachers, middle year teachers act like you have to have it all together all the time. Maybe you need to leave at 3:15. Go get yourself a little shake. Go walk the track, go journal in your book. You got to do something different sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's when you talked about like the person that had been teaching for 40 years, close to retirement, and a new teacher getting together, that teacher can offer some wisdom because they've been through the classroom a little bit more. And so that's why this is important. And because the children are our future. And I know I don't want to be teaching no kids. I don't even want to teach my kids. So I am just like grateful for people like you that are doing this work because I want my kids' teacher to be okay.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
We want to be okay. We want to be.
I want y'all to be okay because y'all are doing amazing work that continuously gets funded. And you guys still find a way, whether you're sending me notes to bring some tissue to the school.
Please.
I bring the tissue, but y'all make a way out of no way. Do you guys have any lasting words that you want to share with the audience?
I would like to say that I need everyone to vote. I need people to be aware of what's going on. Think about the children. The children are watching us. We need to watch our language. We need to watch the ways in which we're talking about one another, treating one another. We need to be good models. I won't say role models because we sometimes it means I got to show that maybe I didn't pay that bill on time and now I got a late fee. Okay. But I have to be a good model. I have to keep it real, but we do need to vote. We want those that are speaking on our behalf about education to be people that know about education. And we want them to be thinking about not just teacher salaries, the whole child, the resources, mental health. There's so many, the prison, the school pipeline, all of that. Pay attention, vote, support your schools.
Yeah, and just really quick, what she said about taking care of yourself. Only way to be able to do that, to take care of yourself and be there for your kids and everything else, you have to be still and recognize when you're struggling. Learn yourself. This is a great opportunity to really get to know yourself. And it's hard to do. It's not easy, but it's important so that we can continue pushing the needle forward. So thank you for that. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Chandra?
Yep, I just want to add, keep the conversation going, whatever that conversation is, right? So, keep the conversation going with your kids. Talk to your kids. The kids are watching and they see and know more than you think they do, right? And when I say your kids, I mean the kids in your classroom. I mean the kids in your home. Keep the conversation open. Keep the conversation open with the adults around you. Check on folks. Sometimes folks look like they okay, but they may not be okay, right? Keep the conversation going. It is super important. Keep the hard conversations going. These issues around equity and race are not easy conversations. They're not. But if we don't have the conversations, we're not going to move anything forward. We have to have the hard conversations. And in those conversations, we need to challenge one another. Teachers need to challenge teachers. People of color need to challenge people of color. We need to challenge white folks. White folks need to challenge. We need to be in these conversations so that we can really understand one another. We can collaborate one another and move this sucker forward. We are at a really critical moment. Yes. We really, really, really are in education and just in life in general. We better keep talking to one another. We better keep our eyes open, right? And we better give each other grace. Give yourself and give one another some grace.
Yes.
That's good. You guys are amazing. You guys kind of jumped into, how are you doing? Before you leave, how are you doing, Gorgette and Chandra? Because y'all just jumped into action mode when this started. So how have you guys been managing?
I feel I'm really blessed. I have my mom, who's 86, stays with us. My husband, my 2 sons, they're amazing. We are, as a family, using this time. I want to share something that we did as a family. At around week 6 during the pandemic, we had a little family meeting, and we talked about how we didn't plan this pandemic. We didn't know we were going to be trapped in this house for 6 weeks just among us. And in having that dialogue, we made some readjustments. Who's doing the dishes and who's going to get the groceries. And it helped us as a family unit to be better. So the pandemic's not over, y'all. Right. So let's continue to talk as a family, love each other, give grace, and, show love. Show some love.
I'm good. I'm staying plugged in. And so I say that that's super important. Stay plugged into those. I stay plugged into those things, those people that fuel and that feed me. Right. And, we talk about this forum and we talk about how great it's been for teachers. And I every week tell people that I do this kind of selfishly for a reason. Right. I need this forum. Seriously, it's one of the things that I plug into. I need this forum. This is my opportunity in the middle of this pandemic and in this crazy and in all this racial stuff to do something. I have to feel like I'm doing something and making a difference. It's part of the reasons why I'm a teacher, right? and it's part of who I am in the world. And so I found that during this pandemic, I had to figure out, I had to do something. And so I keep figuring out those things that make me feel like I'm doing something to move the work forward, to move my life forward, you know. And so as long as I continue to do that, I'm going to be okay.
That's good. Well, I'm grateful to you guys. I'm just going to put up this banner again. If you're listening to this on the audio, you'll find the link in the show notes for everybody listening now. Real Talk, Real Time with Chandra and Gorgette. Every week there's something new, but you don't have to worry about them not talking about the elephant in the room, because it sounds like y'all are talking about the elephant in the room.
Can I bring up another elephant?
Yeah, go ahead.
I hope that everybody realizes that more than 80% of the teaching profession is made up of white Americans, white people. And so we need people of color, Black and brown people, to come to our profession. When we have the conversations in school and there's concerns and issues about things happening at the school, we can't be really mad and say, that white teacher did this and that, but when we're not in there being a teacher. So even Chandra and I talk about, we want to, sometimes we've all had those moments like, I'm going to just leave. But then my heart breaks when I think and I see certain kids' faces and I'd say, I can't quit on them. So we need to turn the table. We need parents to say, being a teacher is not just an admirable profession. It's necessary. We need to be in the classrooms to support our children. We need those people to be the school social workers. We need them in the cafeteria. We need them as the vice principals and the principals. So let's not see it as the profession that you just go to when you can't figure out a major or a job when you get out of school. We need to be committed to becoming educators. We need our Black and brown educators to step forward.
Well, I think with your forum, you are creating space so that people can stay. It's the way it sounds is like there's a big burnout if you don't have the support, and there's these conversations that are not happening, but everybody's struggling together. So, you know, hopefully, like, this is the start of like many, you know, bigger and better things around like self-care and wellness, because that's the only way you're going to sustain with anything that you do, whether you're a teacher or not. I think sustainability can take place, you know, when you are caring for yourself. So that's good. Thank you, my dear. Well, I appreciate y'all so much for making this an amazing podcast with your beautiful smiles and all the amazing things you're doing. I guess we jumped into this together. I said, let me come on video in March, and y'all did y'all workshop. So, you know, we all in this together.
Yes.
So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
We want to thank those who are part of our forum already that came to support us. We saw your comments on the screen. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your support and the ways in which you support what we're doing. Thank you.
Yes, I am so excited. Thank you, everyone who is watching, joining. Please share this conversation with people, anybody you think that would benefit. We are here. Hit us up on Facebook, most definitely. Celeste, thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Exciting conversation. And this is just the beginning.
Wait, so y'all are going to come back in September so I can figure out what I'm going to do as a parent too. I'm going to have y'all come back on because
you got it.
Because I'm in limbo too, you know.
Yes.
But I got some professionals that's going to help me, so I'm grateful. I'm going to have you come on to help me and my audience, because this needs to happen.
So whatever it's going to look like, we'll be here.
We got you, Celeste.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is how we do at the end. This is how we do. There we go.
Oh.
Come on. All right.
Oh, is this a teacher thing?
This is what we do. This is how we end our night.
Oh, so I'm part of the squad now? Bye.
Start that way. Good night.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. This episode is going to be up on the podcast tomorrow. It will be called Real Talk, Real Time with Chandra and Gorgette, episode 227. So if you're not familiar with the podcast is called Celeste the Therapist Podcast. And you can find it streaming on all podcasting platforms. The goal is to help you shift the way you think. And the same way Gorgette and Chandra came on and shared what they've been doing and how they are trying to get people to like look at what's happening with the pandemic differently. They're shifting the way that people are thinking about it, because it's easy for us to get stuck in the struggle, right? It's actually harder to climb out, but if you do that with some support, it looks differently. And so what they're offering is support. So make sure that you check them out on Facebook. And I appreciate, thank you. I'm so glad you guys enjoyed the show. I can't do it without these amazing people. Like I can't, you know, when the pandemic first started, I started coming up by myself the first week. And then I was all like saying the same thing, like, don't forget to take care of yourself. Don't forget to take care of yourself. But then I started to bring people on, and it's been so amazing. So I'm just grateful for you all coming on and all of my guests that come on. Love you guys. Tomorrow we'll be back on talking about something different. But again, the goal is to help you shift the way you think. And I will see you guys mañana.
Life that I care about and love, but wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity, and make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit. And you are now rocking with